But as this little foal took its first steps, the dying embers of the day had just gone over the western horizon, and it was just the time that the hyenas and lions were starting to get active and go out foraging. This is why we didn't light up the sighting, of course. It may have compromised the zebra's eyes and at the same time attracted those hyenas and lions to the activity.
My name is Lauren and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
The croc is still holding another one there. It's holding from the hindquarters. I would really want. The wildebeest cross is trying. The croc is holding the tail. It's holding tight. Oh no. Goodness me. Lucky, lucky wildebeest. You have another day to live.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily. This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everyone, from all the impala in the entire Djuma Private Game Reserve, grazing as the sun is up. It's not shining though, it's not yet a sunny day. It's still very overcast, but I am very much hoping that sun is going to come shining through and another glorious day here in South Africa. Now, all the impala are huddled here at one very specific area, which is sometimes a telltale sign that maybe a predator has walked on the other side, which is why they've came here. But who knows, and that's what we're here to investigate, to see what we can find this morning. Now, my first port of call will be the hyena den, but I am sure we will find lots of interesting things. And hopefully Deirdre in Tswalu will show you many wonderful things down there, and Dan at Ngala. So everyone, get ready. It's that time of day for your live safari through the African bush. Welcome aboard, everyone. Are you ready for a bumble? This impala is ready. Look at her. Isn't she absolutely beautiful? Who is not beautiful is myself this morning, so you are only going to get to see half of my face. The other half of my face is swollen. Hello. My name is Lauren. I do have Davy on camera today. And yes, evil wisdom teeth. They are not fun. Why do we have them? Who knows why we have them? I don't believe we need them anymore. So those humans who don't have any, you are very lucky, and I am extremely jealous of you all right now. But, of course, let's get back to the basics. It is indeed 21 degrees Celsius and 69 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's very, very pleasant, and I don't believe we're in store for too much rain, so fingers crossed. I would like a dry bumble today. And it's really important that you talk to us. We need all your wonderful questions, all those difficult questions that make us think. And you can do this by using the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter, or you can use @FC on the YouTube chat, or you can head over to the Wild Earth website, register, go to the live safari page and ask your questions there. Now, if you're under 18, kids, please do email us. We love, love, love your questions. They are normally the most difficult to answer, and the email address is kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. I think the impala has a question. Now, although the impala are very, very beautiful and it's wonderful to spend time with them, I do want to get to the hyena den. It's been a few days since I've managed to spend time there, and as many of you know, it's a little bit later. It's now 6:05 here in South Africa, and therefore it sort of reduces our chance of having the hyena den active. So I think it's really important that Davy and I bumble. Phantom of the Opera style, I'm still going to hide half of my face from everyone that we meet today. And hopefully the hyena den will be active. I can just hide out there. Now, as many of you know, we were going to name them. We still are going to name them. We just ran into a little bit of difficulty with the gremlins the other day. Those nasty, nasty gremlins. And the hyena den did not have an adult. So fingers crossed they do this morning. And if they're not there this morning, they will definitely be there this afternoon. And we'll go through the naming process this afternoon as well. Now, you will all get the choice to vote for Junebug's name. We've got a selection for you, a beautiful selection given by the team at Djuma, all the guides and Michelle. And you will all get to choose. There will be a poll, and it will run until Thursday. So we've got time for everybody to put their choices in. I will also put my choice in. I have a favourite already. And it will be so lovely to see most of them have names now. Heart's son, Heart's daughter. It gets a little bit tricky after a while, so at least they're going to have beautiful names, and we are going to announce it as soon as we can have a perfect den sighting. But because it's not too hot, I'm anticipating that maybe, just maybe, it will be active. once that sun comes up and the sort of temperature, the ambient temperature gets too hot, they'll just run inside the den. They'll just hide. Many of you are telling stories about your wisdom teeth. Oh, I'd love to hear them. And you're telling me to hang in there. I still look fine. I don't feel fine, but you know, Gavi tells me I look fine, but I think he's just being nice. So yes, I'm on antibiotics, so all is okay. But wisdom teeth is actually a very interesting thing to study as to why we had them and why we no longer need them, but yet genetically we're still wired. And I only ever had 3, so not all 4 come in for everybody. And that's because evolution, a very long process of evolution, is weeding out the wisdom teeth. Evolution is not perfect. You will find things in the animal kingdom and the human body we don't need anymore. Our lifestyle's changed, but yet we still have them. And evil wisdom teeth are one of those things. They are not fun. But at least the left side of my face is looking jolly good. And not swollen. Okay, we're almost heading to the den. I actually tried to do this the other day. Maybe it'd be nice, Jared, if we can do this today, is to actually show you this pathway. So this is Philemon's cut line. And we swing a left, and this used to just be a game path, but now it's turned into very much a road. And I mentioned this the other day, but I think we lost signal. That is going to get named soon. And many of you ask about the hyena dens, so I'm just going to show you every single one. We have 3, and then you'll understand how close they are in proximity to one another. So first was obviously den number 1, and this was the den that I first spent time at with Corky as the matriarch, and Plonk, and Sutu, and Swana, and all the cubs. Now it's a very, very small den, and it's completely overgrown now. But we're about to arrive at that one first. And they definitely haven't used it since. Since Corks was the matriarch, they've just abandoned den number 1. Okay, Javi, are you ready? It doesn't actually look like anything now. All those sort of trees grown together, that's a termite mound underneath there. And that is den number 1. But it's definitely not in use anymore. And then den number 2 is just around the corner, and you'll see how close it is. And this one is my favourite, but they're not using that one either. They did for a while. This was Ribbon's natal, well, her natal den for Ngwazi and Shimbulu. So you literally just turn the corner, and then you come to den number 2. Which makes life very, very easy for us. Thank you, Juma Clan. And this is a very, very active area, very productive. Lots of our characters and different species use this game path, which is definitely not a road. Den number 2 is right in front of us. So we've maybe moved, how many meters, Toby? 100. There we go, 100 meters. And we arrive at den number 2, because many of you ask me this. And then we just take the slip road. There we go, there's den number 2 from the other side. And again, extremely overgrown, not in use right now. But this is where Ngwazi and Shimbulu were born in March last year. And it's the largest of all the mounds, and I just think it's fantastic. If I was a hyena, which I wish sometimes I was, that would be my job. And then, just slowly up ahead, we pass den number 2. We come to den number 3. Which seems to be their favourite. And let's just hope it's active. Now, you know we don't stay there if there's any adults, but we are allowed to do a quick check, scan the area, see who's around, and then, of course, if there's no adults, we just leave. And it's all very overgrown here, of course. Oh, I see somebody. Is it an adult? Is it a cub? I don't know. I get very excited at this point. And this, ladies and gentlemen, It's den number 3. We have someone suckling over here. I think it's ribs. The cub's out. Hey, everybody. Is this okay, Dove? Hey, Swazi. Nice to see ya. So we have Intima, her baba, and we have Swazi. Junebug, that's Junebug. Looking like a proper little hyena now. Hello. There's a cub, Dove. Oh, the cub's getting to meet Swazi. Now, this is definitely going to be entertaining. I am going, oh. Oh. Oh, that's very heart-melting. And look how Intima does not care. She's fully relaxed. Swazi's a boy. He's of dispersal age. Oh, Swazi, what are you doing? He's reproductively mature now, but yet Intima's absolutely relaxed with his presence, and we all know that if she wasn't, you would hear about it. Swazi gets a little bit confused sometimes. Oh, what a precious, precious sight. Okay, so of course, everyone, that means we can go through the naming, but maybe a little bit later on. We're going to sit tight here for now, but it means the hyenas will be given their names this morning. Oh. Uncle Swazi, isn't he just the coolest? Okay, so I'm going to sit tight here and enjoy this precious moment, but let's take a look at the weather across all our locations. Lots of thunderstorms today. Not great, but I'm happy. We don't have thunder or a storm or wind or rain, but we do have hyenas. This is too precious, everyone. I hope you're all taking screenshots. You know, Swazi was high-ranked, or he is high-ranked. His mother, Pretty, was second in charge. And therefore, he wasn't a low-ranking male. He always had status. Oh, and he just loves to be around clan members. He's a very social little bunny. He loves to be around humans, too. Hi, Swaz. Yes, I do think that's ribbon over there, and the cubs are starting to get awake, so we've not sort of positioned in a way that we can show you them right now, but hopefully they'll come over. Ronald, you're asking, how does the den stay dry? Most likely it won't. If it's really heavy rains, which we have suffered from a lot lately, the water will permeate through, and that's exactly how termite mounds built by the termites are designed. Although it looks very, very solid, it is solid, but it's very sort of porous, and that's to allow gas exchange. So it's very permeable for the gas, but that also means that water will trickle in. So I don't imagine the den will become flooded. But water will get in. It'll probably become very damp down there, and I can only begin to imagine what it will smell like. But I believe underneath it all, once you go in the entrance, it's very intricate down there. I think it'll be quite elaborate. There'll be lots of little compartments and areas and holes, and I think that Sorry, Swazi just can't sit still. And I think that'll prevent the water from completely flooding the den. If it flooded, they would have to move. Oh, hello. Where did you come from? Look how long the grass is for the little cubs now. None of them have noticed my swollen face yet, which is good. I still haven't seen corks or heart at the den. This is just too precious. Okay, I'm going to sit tight here and enjoy this precious moment with the Djuma clan.
Imagine having your own secluded African bush home where you and your friends can enjoy the ultimate safari experience. If you sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer, this could become a reality. Tumbeta House is located in the heart of Djuma Private Game Reserve, the home of Wild Earth. You could win a chance to stay at this intimate wilderness retreat, offering you the rare and highly sought-after privilege of your own home in the bush. The prize includes 3 nights for 6 people and includes daily game drives, a chance to see the Wild Earth camp, and have dinner with one of our guides. Sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer before the end of February 2021 and you could be heading to Djuma, the place that we call home. Available dates are limited, so terms and conditions apply.
Converging game path will invariably lead you to a water source, but treat all water as suspect. One of my favorite ways of purifying water is to filter out the particulates. And by just filtering it through your sock, you can clear out most of those. You can put water into a snail shell and you can boil it over a fire or using a chemical like chlorine or colloidal silver.
My name is Steve, and one of my favorite things at Wild Earth is getting questions from you. The type of questions that I really like are those ones that really help us to unpack and understand and really integrate the ecological knowledge and fully appreciate the importance that animals such as these Cape buffalo bring to the ecosystem. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, you're going to have to register on the website, but once registered, just head on over to the live safari page and enter your question under the live feed. Hello, Mama. Just checking us out, everybody. There's no aggression here. Very relaxed. A herd of elephants moving around your car like that. It's truly, truly magical.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
Good morning from Tswalu. We have a beautiful sunrise this morning. It's going to be a spectacular day again, probably also another warm one. But there you're just seeing some of the silver cluster leaves on the top of the dunes and the rest of the Karannaberg. So I'm Deirdre, and on camera with me this morning is Morgan. I nearly threw Morgan off yesterday going through the water when we suddenly hit a deeper patch. He did definitely do a launch out of his seat, but I'm glad he's still with us. Our plan this morning, we were quite successful out in the dunes yesterday morning, so we're going to stick with that plan and then follow up on the meerkats a little bit later in the morning when they do decide to come up. But that dawn chorus has just started. There's lots of little common quails in the grasses as we stopped here. All you hear is woom, woom, as they're all calling to each other. They can't see each other with this thick grass, but they are all calling to each other. And I'm going to send my well wishes to Lauren. It's never nice to deal with puffy cheeks with wisdom teeth. Never a nice thing. And I hope you've all chosen a nice name for the little hyena. I don't know if you can actually hear that, all the quails. I believe hyena naming is later today, so hopefully you've all got in your wishes as to what the names are going to be. It is just a beautiful morning. I think we're going to carry on heading into the dunes. We just got to see. We haven't seen too many mammals this morning just yet. We're going to go and see what we can find. Joyce's comment is, what a beautiful way to start the drive. I know, this is just, we never disappointed. There's such spectacular sunrises. Oh, where'd the road go? Oh, there we go. Things are so overgrown at the moment, we can't even see where the little two-track is anymore. So there we go. But it is absolute beautiful morning. It's definitely starting to feel like the beginnings of winter. We're wearing our jackets in the morning. It's got a little bit of a bite in the air, but certainly not the winter bite in the air. That's still coming. But it is definitely starting to feel like we're tilting towards the colder times of the year. But look at this spectacular light on those terminalias there on the dune. It's just absolutely beautiful. I'll stop for a second and then you can have a good look at that. But that's quite a unique thing here in that in the Lowveld in Djuma and in Ngala, all the silver cluster leaves are actually in the seep lines. They're at the bottom where they collect water, but in the Kalahari, they're actually on top of the dunes. And that's because they almost act like a sponge. So if you put a sponge in a bowl of water, it would suck all the water up. And that's exactly how these silver cluster leaves work in the Kalahari. I think I can see something on one of those on the far left. I'm just going to scan with binoculars. But and then there's also a very nice example. In the bottom left of your screen is a nice camel thorn. And if Morgan zooms in on that one, you can actually see the sheer abundance of seed pods. Just look, that is covered in seeds, and those will be used or eaten by lots of different mammals. The baboons, the giraffe, the kudu, everybody's eating seed pods. And some of those seed pods on those camel thorns, they can drop on the ground and be viable for almost 50 years, or even if they're under the soil, be viable for that length of time. I mean, that's phenomenal. And it'll have a really, really long, deep taproot. They do like the sandy soils. I'm just scanning around to see. It's also a nice place sometimes for the tops of the dunes. Is also a nice place for the cheetah sometimes. It's always a good place to look out for them. But we'll go up and over. If we can continue to find our road, that's always a challenge, is finding the road. So, flies are there. We're going to carry on bumbling, heading out into the dunes. We're going to send you across to Lauren, who's also bumbling a little bit.
Sad news, everyone. There was a noise from somewhere nearby. I didn't hear it, of course. And all the hyenas just skedaddled. I don't know if that's a Scottish word or not, but it means they all just ran away. So, of course, we have to leave the den. It's a little bit sad. But we'll try again if it stays cool. And even if it's not cool, we'll definitely come back this afternoon. At least we got to see them in that lovely tender moment with Mr. Tswazi. Now, I think Steve had a very lucky day yesterday, and we have more traverse, everyone. We don't have to go around quarantine. Masts are fixed and things are getting better. So that means we can explore a little bit further and see what else we can find. Now, this is Treehouse Dam. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but I think it looks like a love heart. What do you think, Dov?
I see what you mean.
Do you? I don't think he does. This part over here
Bottom, right?
is the peak of the love heart, the top.
Oh.
Yeah, Darby didn't see it. And then it tapers down to the bottom of the love heart. Anyway, maybe it's just myself that sees that. But Treehouse Dam is one of the more sort of productive dams that we have, and the water is said to be the cleanest. So this is a good place to check, especially for elephants. Elephants are very, very fussy drinkers, and if the water's not clean enough for them, there's maybe too much sort of nutrients, microbes, bacteria, algae, then they'll dig. They'll use their trunk and their feet, and they'll dig for fresher water underground. But Treehouse is definitely one of the better water holes for elephants. Now, for your predators, there's just water everywhere. Puddles, pans, holes, even the vegetation is wet. What do we have up there? Do we have a bird up there? Or am I seeing things? Oh, look at that beauty. I think we have a tawny eagle. Is it a tawny? The size and coloration look to be tawny, but then when you see the feathers sticking up like that, it could suggest Wahlbergs. Raptors are not easy. I get asked a lot, can you help me identify this raptor? But you really, really got to be able to pick out those sort of key features. It doesn't look very impressed. At least it's not raining. Should be impressed at that. I feel like this is a tawny, but just with a little bit of dead head. And tawny is probably the eagle that we see out here with the most diverse range of morphs, colour morphs. Yes, many of you are disappointed about the hyenas. I know, me too, trust me. But we maybe can do a loop back around. Sometimes something scared them. And of course, as soon as one runs, they all run. And it's possible that they could return. It was so lovely to see the littlest cub out like that. It's very brave now. It's gone past the entrance. It's discovered a whole new world. Imagine being perched up very high on a tree like this and being able to see what's moving down on the ground. Imagine having such sharp, capable eyesight like that to detect movement. And that's how you hunt. You're not using your sense of smell. You're not using your hearing, really. You're using your eyesight. Andrew, you're asking, are they always alone when they hunt? Yes, most raptors, even those that are in monogamous pairings, hunt alone. And depending on the sort of maternal versus paternal investment, they may bring food back for the other partner if they're looking after the nest or they're incubating, but generally speaking, most raptors will hunt alone. But with your sort of raptors in general, the monogamous bonds are quite tight. They're long, they're not just short flings, and there's a high level of parental investment. And therefore, they both have duties. They will both invest in the offspring together. It's not just a case of the male mating and then finding the next female. He will invest in the offspring with his monogamous partner. Okay, I think we're going to keep bumbling. There's so many roads that I haven't traversed on in so long. I want to go and discover. Also Chitwa, we haven't been able to traverse Chitwa, but I'm very much looking forward to heading down there and seeing what Chitwa looks like. Tandy had a kill on Chitwa a few days ago, so maybe we'll scratch around and we can see any signs of Tandy. And Marib's, her newly named son.
Getting mobile, so any update?
Sorry about that, let's get into our video. Okay, hold on, Darby, this road is not a pleasant one. Now you can still see in front of us, up ahead, the roads are still very waterlogged. Now, there's still some roads that we can't drive, but there's roads that we can. And you can still see how absolutely green it is everywhere. It's still so thick and so lush. But you're asking, are any of the birds of prey endangered in South Africa? Yes, some of them are. I think the worst case or the best example are the vultures. Now, many people don't like vultures. I actually think they're really cool. And you can loosely classify them as raptors, I guess, but of course they mostly eat carrion and they are quite related to storks. But vultures, in general, across the board, are endangered, and this is due to humans, of course. They are intentionally poisoned in a lot of areas to get rid of them. So people will put down a carcass or some form of food and poison that carcass, and therefore when the vultures eat it, they of course ingest the poison, and it's very, very sad. We need our vultures. They are the sort of ecosystem heroes that clean everything up that no one else wants to. They're the ones that get rid of all the nasty carcasses and carrion and potential pathogens that might spread and bacteria. That's why we don't drive around and there's not nasty carcasses everywhere. Imagine that. That would not be pleasant. So we need vultures, and I think that's one of the best examples of endangered. And you can use the IUCN-redlist.org tool, and you can type in any organism, the Latin name or the common name, and it will tell you how endangered it is. It will give you a distribution map. It will tell you the reasons why it's endangered, and it's a really fantastic tool. It's constantly been updated. It's maybe not always the most up-to-date, but it gives you an idea of how many animals across the board are facing some level of being endangered. This road is very waterlogged. We're still not off-roading at the moment, which of course makes absolute sense. I think if you off-road, you're asking for trouble. Which means if we do find any animals and they disappear into the thicket, we of course cannot follow. Do you see that blue sky, Daffy? Isn't it glorious? My little friend here. I think I'm going to spend some time getting to know my little six-legged friend. And as I do that, we are going to send you across to Steve, who's on the dam cam.
Good morning, and welcome to the Dam Cam this morning. And my name's Steve Holgebridge. Joined with us is this very grumpy old buffalo bull who is loving a little bit of a swim. Now, he was found this morning about 4:30 on the Dam Cam, just hiding in the bushes just behind there, between the water and the thickets. And now he's decided that he's going to put his body in the water because obviously it's warm, everybody. And when you're a big old buffalo bull, there's nothing like just sort of wallowing in the water. But it's quite interesting to actually see the injury on his mouth. We've been talking about it. We've seen him a couple of times. You'll see that his lip has been split quite heavily on the right-hand side. And I don't know what could have caused that. It seems to me, through just the way that it looks, that it was some form of attack by a clawed animal of some sort. Lions are very well known to go for predators, or to go for prey on the nose, especially a big bull like this. The safest place is either on his hindquarters, which is the best place, or they try and subdue them by the nose. And we did discuss it the other day. On his other side, on his left shoulder, there's this huge gouge in the left shoulder. It almost looks like his own horn has penetrated into his skin there, almost as if he had something attached to his face. He tried to fling it off, and in the process gouged himself. That's what it looks like anyway, without having seen it ourselves. He's having a proper clean by the oxpecker. This consulting detective, he's still around. We haven't seen lions much since this fellow's materialized in the area, so he is unfortunately very attractive to a pride lion. We'll see what happens. But, you know, they don't get this old by not being vigilant, or should I say wily. He's got his tricks. You can see when he's at his most vulnerable now, he's sort of in the water. It's a very difficult place for predators to get at him. He's not concerned by crocodiles. Big crocodile would be needed to take a buffalo like this on. Okay. Well, mighty big buffalo just ruminating here in the shallows. We're going to send you over to Deirdre in Tswalu Kalahari.
I would zoom out, eh? Welcome back. We've got a giraffe and, well, lots of giraffe. Wait for it. Here it comes. Just a little one. And there was another one as well. So there's a massive journey of giraffe. There's one going to come running across the road now. Just one more second. That's a nice big male. There we go. And they are probably all going to start running. Not from us, so I mean, we've been with them for a little bit of time already, but yeah, they've just decided that they're moving forward quickly. Just a really nice journey of giraffe mixed. There's males, there's females, there's youngsters here. I'm going to go forward. It's challenging. We're a little bit lower down than the giraffe at the moment, so we'll just see. Let me just try and get into this open area in the front here. And then there's that should be fine, huh? Yeah. Oh, there you can get the little So if we go in for the baby, where's that? They're all staring at a Gemsbok. He's also just come running in, so that's probably what gave them a fright and made them start running, is that they just heard the Gemsbok running and thought, well, they don't know what is around, so we're just going to run anyway. There he is he's on the far right. Oh, disappeared in the grasses. So that would be a nice journey of giraffe. Some call them Tower of Giraffe or Journey of Giraffe, but just a nice group. Don't forget, if you've got any questions, you can hashtag Wild Earth and then put at FC in front of your questions. Dragonfly's comment is that they are so full of energy. Absolutely. This morning, it is a beautiful morning. And why not? So they are all, I mean, they're still all looking in one direction, but I think that's just that Gemsbok. We're not too far from a watering hole, so there are probably a few other different kinds of animals around. I'm going to go forward just to see if we can get past that clump. Just give me a second. We're going to probably have to look a little bit backwards, but I'm just trying to get a better view for the camera. Maybe there, Morgan, then we can see the little one. We can see the smaller one a bit better, and then you can see an adult male relative to a young giraffe is a huge size difference. So when a young giraffe is born, they're generally only about 1 meter in height. He's trying to smell. Mike is asking the question if giraffe family members have the same patterns. No, every giraffe has got its own sort of signature pattern, very similar to what we would have fingerprints. But across the different species of giraffe, their pattern does help you tell who's who. So the reticulated giraffe or the Maasai or the Kenyan giraffe, they're sort of what you would call spots, but they're almost patches, sometimes a lot closer together, and then the sort of lighter colors in between are much thinner. So you can differentiate the species based on sort of what their pattern looks like, but each individual giraffe does have its own pattern. He's really struggling to keep up. It's hard walking for a little giraffe when the grass is as high as he is. He's already got his horns and everything, so he's sort of 6-8 months already. He's not brand new. His horns are well seated and established. So they'll just be moving through this area. There's lots of camel thorns. We were talking about those camel thorn seed pods. The giraffes absolutely love them. And they're doing a study at Tswalu, as far as I understand it, in how the viability of the camel thorn seed pods at the different levels. Kune is asking, what is the approximate possible age of the young one? I'd say younger than a year, but more than sort of 9 months, in that sort of group. And that's based on the fact that the horns are already seated. It's already at sort of a certain height, and it is quite confident moving around. So I'd probably say about sort of 9 months, somewhere around there. That male, he might have picked up something. I can't. They do tend to pick up pieces of bone, and then they chew them, and you can actually see, if you stay on that one that you were on. All good? Yeah, that one. You can actually see the way that it's chewing, and it looks a bit awkward, moving its jaws around. That's not necessarily the rumination. He's got something in his mouth. He's probably got a bone, like a little vertebra or something, that he's moving across his teeth to try and chip off bits of calcium. They'll get good calcium and phosphorus from that. And that's known as osteophagy. Osteo meaning bones, phagy meaning to eat, and they will do that to help that sort of calcium deposit on the head, and for the ossicones, what some people refer to as the horns, but the ossicones. And sometimes you'll actually see giraffe even sort of pick up a whole skeleton that they've got a rib cage and a vertebra dangling from their mouth. So they're not carnivores. They're just utilizing a source of minerals and nutrients from bones. His horns are very wide apart. He's almost like a gensbok. They're so wide. That's him about to walk out of shot. There's not. They've all moved on. They're a little bit too far. There isn't a road where they're going. So we'll carry on heading up towards the waterhole and see if there's anything else around that side.
It is fantastic seeing you all again. Those who haven't met me, my name is Dylan, in what is undoubtedly a very, very, very green Kalahari from what we were looking at a couple of months ago. We will be doing our very first fireside chat for Wild Earth. So if you can join us on the 13th at about 7:30 after game drive, it would be an absolute pleasure. We'll see you there.
Sign up to become an explorer and join them by the fire straight after the sunset safari.
Being a safari driver requires some serious multitasking ability. You've got to be able to talk, look at the road, steer, and occasionally get the vehicle into the right gear.
Do not crash into any trees. Oh, that's a dozy.
Just jump into the car and hope for the best, and you'll see where it takes you. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm surprised they're moving as fast as that didn't go well.
Who is the best driver? Well, me, of course, although some of the cam-ops might disagree. Hi, my name is Tristan Dix, and I am a guide here at Djuma Private Game Reserve for Wild Earth. We love connecting you to the African bush, and we always look forward to all of your questions. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, you'll need to register on the website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit a question below the live feed. Catch up with me on Wild Earth.
Something very, very interesting. I didn't plan this, but this is a scene rarely seen. This is what we call a journey of giraffe. So beautiful.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
What makes Anbi-on-Pinde Private Game Reserve so special is our massive array of habitats. And with that comes, of course, a beautiful diversity of landscapes, but also an incredible biodiversity in terms of plants, bird life and animal life, as well as, of course, our conservation success stories with cheetah, with rhinos, now with pangolins too.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
Terathopius equadatus. I think that's how you say it. We have the battalier. And it's nice, and I'm so glad we're able to come back down this way and check on it. Now, from here, I could not possibly say if this is a male or female. Normally, you look for the coloration of the plumage on the wings and size. But this nest on Leadwood Road we've had an adult, be it the male or the female, sitting in here for quite some time. So there has to be activity. And I think it's been far too long for there not to be a chick. I'm just going to check the incubation period. But isn't that lovely? Battaliers are not true eagles, of course. But they're still a raptor, and they're still incredible. But I don't think the incubation period could be that long. It's been a while now that we've had an adult sitting on this exact nest. And the nests are mainly built by the males. The male does all the hard work, and it can take up to 6 weeks. But they can reuse the nest time and time again. But it's normally they give it a 3 to 5 year period, and then they ditch that nest, and it's time to start again. Well, the incubation period is 55 days. and the nest, or the eggs, sorry, are incubated by both sexes. But it's only really one egg that the Battalier will lay, and what that tells you immediately, now that you know they only lay one egg, that automatically tells you there's a very high level of parental care. Be it the male or the female, there's a lot of investment there, and that's why they only have one. I wish we could see inside this nest. The young look very, very different. I don't know if you've ever seen a Battalier chick, but they look very different, and they have a creamy head, if you like, a cream-coloured head. They look nothing like the adult. It takes between 7 to 8 years for a Battalier chick to attain the full adult plumage. A juvenile Battalier can actually confuse you when you're trying to identify it. So it says here that both sexes contribute equally to the brooding and feeding of the chick. The female may spend most of the time sitting on the nest, but the male will also do the same and pass prey to the female, and that's what I was touching on earlier. The males will hunt for themselves, of course. They need to keep their own energy levels up. They're endothermic. They fuel themselves through metabolism, and then, of course, they need to come and pass the prey to the female, so that she can keep her energy levels up, and then, of course, feed the chick. I don't see any movement. The reason our spotted eagle owl parents, we've been able to get so close to the chick every time, is because it's at eye level. But here, the nest is very, very high up, so it's very difficult to see if there's a chick or not. So we're going to head to Chitwa, see what we can find, but for now, we're going to send you guys down to Tswalu.
To those two then, when so we have a little bachelor group of Gemsbok here. We've managed to get to the waterhole, and yeah, they're just standing around, some of them lying around. They're just taking it easy this morning, but you can see their tails are fast at work. There's flies and lots of insects and some louse flies. There's yeah, two down there having a real good siesta. There is, because of having an abundance of food at the moment, they can actually afford to have a good rest time. If they've been eating and they've done really, really well, then lying down in the open areas and possibly regurgitating their food and going through that rumination process, it does allow them to... he's scratching himself with his horns. It does allow them to process the food better while they look out for predators. It is quite handy when you've got long horns like that, but sometimes they can be a little bit cumbersome, but he seems to be managing to use them for what he needs, which is a nice good back scratch. Oh, you can almost see him going, ah, that's good. They actually see that they can handle quite high temperatures, the Gemsbok, and they'll also orientate, the Gemsbok, springbuck, they'll all orientate their body towards the sun or not, depending on the heat of the day. They'll expose the lesser amount of surface area to the sun if need be, but sometimes you've also got to balance it, because if you're in an area that you have extreme summers and extreme winters, you don't want to be too much of one color and too little of another, and then you can't manage to thermoregulate very well. So that colour for them works quite well. It does reflect the heat, but then if they do want to warm up, for example, then they'll put that darker area facing the sun, and it would then absorb heat. And then those beautiful sort of black and white markings on the face, just enhancing their facial features. But also the white stripe will reflect the glare. So the other way around actually. So the black stripe will reflect the glare. Oh, he's having a good scratch. Jerome is asking the question, do they ever hurt themselves with those long horns? I don't think so. I mean, they've got control of them. You could see quite clearly how he was controlling how he was using them. So I haven't seen Gemsbok injure themselves, but they can certainly injure each other if they're in a fight with those horns. But when two males come together to fight, it's quite an elaborate. They try and avoid actually making contact as much as possible. So they'll do sort of lots of posturing, sort of parallel walking, go down on their knees, clash their horns a little bit, and see if one already determines that the other one is stronger, and then he can bow out of the fight. But otherwise they can be quite serious. I'm not too sure if Gemsbok have fought to the death, but with those sharp horns they would certainly inflict some damage to another if they got one in a vital place. And they're all starting to lie down, so they've definitely, he's chosen a nice shady spot, that one. Oh, he's scratching again. That same one again. He's doing his scratch. No, stop now. Daniel's question is, do female oryx have horns? And the answer is yes. And very often longer than a male. The males tend to have slightly shorter horns that sort of make a bit more of a wider Y, as it were, and then the females tend to have longer, thinner horns, but both male and female, and that's because the females can then protect calves from predators. Just scan around and see. So you can see he's starting to re-chew there, that rumination process, just chewing the cud, and then as soon as he's chewed enough, then he'll swallow, and that'll go into the stomach, and then he'll regurgitate another bolus to re-chew. I can hear a wildebeest calling. There were some springbok around earlier, but they're hiding at the moment. Anna Marie's comment is, it's always a pleasure to see Gemsbok. I just think that they're absolutely beautiful. That facial markings are just so striking. I do enjoy seeing them. I wonder if we did have some springbok, so we're going to head towards them, and then hopefully I don't disturb them. There were some springbok just on this side, so we'll see if we go round towards the waterhole. I'll just go nice and slowly. I don't want to disturb them, but it is the way the road goes. They're all looking at me now. So, please don't count. Just, oh no. Oh no. Sorry guys. The road hits this way. They're moving off a little bit, but I know that the springbok are just around the corner here, so we'll try and see if we can get you the springbok. The waterhole just in front of us here hasn't moved too much. Let's see what we're looking for. Maybe the Namakwa doves, yeah? They've actually we're quite close to the water here, and the Namakwa doves and the Cape turtle doves are quite relaxed, so we'll see if we can show you a little Namakwa dove. Very, very pretty. The male Namakwa dove there with his little red beak and red feet with a beautiful sort of black bib. A very nice reflection. I'm trying not to move around too much because I don't want to spook them. We're not too far from them. Got to find the right spot. And it's gone. We haven't... I was going to say the challenge is finding the road, but I found it. We'll carry on and see if we can find you the springback. We're going to send you across to Lauren at Djuma.
From waterhole to waterhole, it feels amazing to be back at Chitwa. I love quarantine, but there's only so many times you can drive around quarantine before starting to lose your mind. And here we are at Chitwa. It was always one of the biggest, or one of the bigger dams that we could traverse. Now we have Buffelshoek, of course, and there's some very big dams up there, but it's huge. There's actually a little waterfall at the other side. And when I say little, I mean like 10 centimeters in height. But still, the water is trickling. It's overflowing. It's completely full. I know not so long ago, Chitwa Dam and the wall was reinforced. So it's sort of designed to hold in the water. But this is very, very full. And what it does mean is that there's more room. This sort of maximum carrying capacity for any niche or any habitat will increase. So more hippos will be able to come and join this waterhole. When the water levels reduce and maybe winter comes and it gets a lot drier, then you will find that the carrying capacity also reduces and there's not enough room for all the individual hippos. But at this point in time, there's hippos everywhere. It's fabulous. Let's just listen to the sounds of Chitwa Dam for a moment or two. Did you see that, Davy? Kingfisher. Is it the pied? Yes, it is. Sorry, that wasn't... That's silent. I got very excited. This is one of my favourite birds. Darby, you love the kingfisher too, don't you?
Love them.
Love them. Oh, there's two. Where did that other one go? Ah, right there. Ah, there's two of you. It just gets better. Now, not all kingfishers fish is such a misleading name, but the pied definitely does. A wonderful fisherman. And off he goes. Now, you can visibly tell the difference between male and female. You need to get a really good look at their chest. And from then on, it's obvious. And they are said to be monogamous. So maybe we have a male and a female here. Let's identify. There we go, this is a male. So you see how he's got his dicky bow tie, that large sort of black patch under his chin, at his chest. And then he has another band. That's the male. The female will only have the dicky bow tie, the single band. She won't have two, so that's the male. Mish actually found a pygmy kingfisher the other day. I would love to get one of them live for you all. I have seen one here, but sadly it wasn't alive. It's my mission to get a pygmy on camera. Isn't he gorgeous? They're small. They're not as small as a pygmy, of course. But they're not as big as a giant, naturally. The name gives it away. But they are small kingfishers. Oh, I caught something! Live hunt! Oh, wow. And that was that. Did your mother not teach you any table manners? Wow.
Pretty cool.
That was very cool.
Yeah.
For a small bird, that was quite a large fish. I mean, it's a small fish, but in comparison to the size of the bird. Wow, it was very cool. Well done, Davi. And that's exactly why they're here at Chitwa Dam. They're fishing. Oh, there's the other one. The other one's going. It just dived in. I wonder if it's got anything. The two of them. No, this one didn't catch anything. Maybe it was just... This is a female. Do you see what I mean? There's no double band underneath. Just looks like she's wearing a little dicky bow tie, which is very sweet. I'm going to guess this is a monogamous pair. They're known to be the hoverers. I don't know if that's a word, but I'm going to use it. The hoverers of the kingfishers. They don't hover like a hummingbird, but they do hover in a sense. So they're able to sort of stay in one position almost, right above a water hole, and that's how they can accurately dive in with their long beak and catch fish. Well done, Davi. They are not making this easy for you. But it uses a lot of their energy to hover. It's not sustainable. They can't just stay in the air and hover for long periods of time. Oh, everybody's saying, well done, Davi.
Thanks.
He says thanks. So it takes a lot of energy. So they need to obviously sustain their energy. They need to eat, fuel their metabolism, and not hover for too long. It's really not sustainable. It's very energetically costly for them. I wonder if it's got anything. Yes! The female's got a fish.
Wow.
Wow. 2 live hunts. Davi, we're on a roll. It's a little bit of a strange thought, thinking that fish going all the way down the gullet like that. But you saw she gave it a smack against a branch. She's obviously trying to kill it, and down it goes. They're really putting on a performance for us here. Flat cat. I love that name because it's very apt for our cats. But yes, it's mainly fish. Their diet is mainly fish, but they will sort of supplement, especially in maybe drier times or harsher conditions, sort of invertebrates. So crabs, Prawns in certain areas, not this area, but pied kingfishers have a large distribution. They will also eat prawns, aquatic insects, and even terrestrial insects. You won't just find them at water bodies, but because their diet mainly consists of fish, of course, they need to be around a water body for that. We don't tend to find walking fish too much around here at Djuma. But yes, they will supplement their diet with insects as well. And of course, insects really across the board are just a fantastic supplement to any diet. They're so rich in protein. And because if you're a aerial hunter like this kingfisher, you're on land. Think of us, okay, when humans go into the water and we try to open our eyes. One, it's not a very pleasant feeling, and you really can't see. You need goggles or a mask. And some of us even need prescription masks, which you can get now. So kingfishers are aerial, they're terrestrial. And therefore their eyes have to be specialized for going in the water. They have to be able to correct refraction, basically, so that they can determine the exact position of the fish underwater. I mean, it's all good and well diving in with that large beak of yours, but then if you open your eyes and you can't see anything, it's not really going to work. You're not going to be successful. So they have very specialized eyes that immediately adapt to correcting for refraction, so that they can see the fish underwater and they can determine its exact location and snatch it up. But they're also able to make sort of last minute adjustments, because as soon as the beak enters into the water, it's going to create a rippling effect and changes in pressure that's going to be detected by the fish. And therefore the fish will immediately know danger is present and swim away. So the kingfisher has to be fast. And they also have a really special membrane. Crocodiles also have this. It's called the nictitating membrane, and it's basically a transparent eyelid. And they'll also close that when underwater to help with the vision. Any species that has a sort of life cycle of water and land has to have specialized adaptations to allow it to survive in both. What an incredible sighting that was. I think we're going to sit and enjoy these kingfishers a little bit longer.
When on safari, there's nothing better than an evening spent under the stars chatting around a fire, with the sounds of the wild all around you. If you sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer, you can build your own memories by joining our guides for regular fireside chats. Subscription payments can be made by PayPal, credit card, and now bank transfer. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Sometimes love wants to make you sing. And sometimes love wants to make you bow and fan your wings to your bow. For the southern yellow-billed hornbill, these are signs that love is in the air. These birds are destined for a season of monogamy at least. Breeding pairs are in it for the survival of their chicks. But before love commences, the male needs to woo his valentine with food in the form of nuptial gifts.
I'm Nikki here at Ambion Ngala in South Africa. I love getting questions from viewers about all the small things within the environment and how it all is integrated with one another. If you want to ask me any questions, please simply register with the Wild Earth website, head across to the Live Safari page and then post your questions there. I'm looking forward to chatting to you on my next Wild Earth drive.
This is a battle of two great carnivores of the African wilderness. Whew. Whoa! You don't want to be under those jaws. Definitely, this round goes to the lion. Look at that. Fantastic.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
Hi, I'm Kyle, and I come to you live every day here from Tswalu Kalahari in South Africa. my favorite bird has to be the social weaver. The enormous nest that they create, their survival tactics to inhabit these harsh and unforgiving environments, and as well as their complex social arrangements, is truly remarkable. And the interconnectedness with the ecosystem shows us that we are too.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
Good morning, everybody, and finally welcome to And Beyond Ngala this morning. What we have here is quite a few members of the Birmingham Pride. It seems like that, at least from this distance away. And quite amazing. They've walked reasonably far away from where they were last night, at least. The two older cubs, who are just less than a year old, are here at the moment. It looks like maybe the mother of the two youngest is here as well, right next to a watering hole. And there are a few other members as well. When we first got here, I can't see from now, but it looked like there might have even been a Ross male, one of the males that are in charge, hanging around over here. Can't be too sure for now. It's lying in the long grass. But good morning, everybody. I'm Daniel Fisher, and on camera this morning we got Odie. So what we did initially is we were having a bit of signal trouble this morning, so we kind of went to the den site and hung around there for some time. There was quite a few vultures and things around, and I kind of hung around there. There was still that strong, quite nasty smell hanging around there, so I reckon maybe a hyena or something had come in last night and kind of taken the carcass away, which would have got the vulture's attention. We stuck around there for a little bit while we had no signal, see what had happened, and nothing happened in the end. So what we did is kept going, trying to look for some tracks around in the area, and we spent probably the past hour or so tracking these lions, and managed to find them. Nice open area right by a small little seasonal pan, and they seem to have increased in number. I mean, from last night we only saw the mother and the two older cubs, and I'm sure the mother and the three youngest cubs were around as well. But it seems like a few other, maybe the next oldest cub, the sister of that white female, looks like she might be there, maybe one of the Ross males. And it's super tricky. I mean, that lion that's lying right in the grass, just between those two logs, you can just see an ear flicking. It looks like there might be a little bit of a mane growing there. From here, it doesn't look like it's one of the Ross males, just by the size of the mane there. I mean, I would assume there to be a little bit more mane around those ears that we could see. Maybe one of the younger Birmingham males that has come to join. Where they've come from, I haven't a clue. It's super interesting. I mean, I would have loved to have known. We've only been tracking these lions from a pair of lioness tracks that left the den site, and I didn't see any male tracks kind of walking with them, so I wonder if they haven't come from the opposite direction. I didn't hear any calling last night either for them to kind of find each other. But super interesting. It also just the way that lioness underneath the tree with her legs open like that, and it looks like she's got quite a full belly. That, from this distance, looked like it might be the mother of the three youngest. Thought I could see some teats. Can see some teeth sticking out there. Look at that full belly though, and look how quickly she's breathing as well. So I'm sure they've caught something. It might have been something quite small, just because it looks like she's the only one that's really eaten, which is probably a good thing. The mother of the three cubs is the one, in my opinion, at the moment that needs to be feeding the most, giving herself the best opportunities to spend as much time around the den feeding those cubs and ensuring that they get big and strong. It even looked like some of those cubs that look like a bit of mange was starting to develop now. They really need to increase their eat lots and ensure that they're nice and strong to try and fight off that mange, which is a mite, which is a skin which attacks like the fur and can actually be quite deadly to lions, particularly if their condition drops. So this mother needs to ensure that she spends as much time around that den site, firstly protecting them from other predators and things that might be coming through, but also ensuring that they're feeding really well. That'll give them the best shot at to increasing their condition and increasing their chances of survival. Interesting. I'd love to know where, if this is in fact her, where she's now stored her cubs. If she's left them at that den site, it might be a bit of a tricky situation, and it's not ideal, simply because there is quite a lot of vulture activity around there. And
vulture activity will attract other predators. It attracted us. We spent about 20 minutes or so waiting for something to happen, waiting to see if a vulture might take us to a carcass that was around, but nothing in the end happened. I'm really hoping that her cubs are actually somewhere else, because if a hyena sees this lion rolling over, how full is that one's belly? Let's just quickly have a look. Not terribly full, huh? Looks like one of the younger lionesses. I wonder where the rest of these lions have come from, and if in fact one of the Rossnails is lying at the back there somewhere. Be super interesting. I mean, the past, let's say 15 days or so, we've had this incredible amount of rain, which has made following this pride's activity quite tricky. I have been seeing a couple of updates from Auburn Camp that they've been there once in a while. They very rarely go further east of there. So I'm sure they've been on our property. We've just been unable to find them with all the rain and not being able to pick up on fresh tracks and seeing distances as to where they're going. As we said, Ross males haven't been calling much at all. They're not far from the den. I'm sure maybe that female might end up going back there at some point today, if that is her with the very full belly. I would suspect so, with the fresh suckle marks on her teats. The two younger ones, just less than a year, are here as well, and I mean, they're at that age where they're going to be following quite frequently. The Birmingham Pride also hasn't been together for quite some time now, at least the last 15 days. We've been seeing them, the little that we've been seeing of them, they've been kind of scattered in these small little groups in and around this area, which is great, but they haven't got the protection of the rest of the pride, which is going to make their job quite difficult. Maybe the conditions have just meant that they are sticking around. Maybe these little groups that have been separated for some time now have actually been hunting quite successfully, and in that case they won't need to join up. They'll only really join up if they really need to. And remember, they're sitting at 21 lions, and they can't feed themselves on impalas and young wildebeest. They'll need to be making much bigger kills to feed 21 lions, particularly with the amount of young males that are in there. They've got incredibly big appetites, and particularly while those young males are hanging around with the females, they should be taking every advantage to get a free meal that they can. This is quite important to increasing their size. They are growing rapidly at their ages, around just less than 3 years old. They need to be eating really well and regularly. That'll increase their height, their weight. Their manes are also starting to develop quite quickly. So I think while they've got the opportunity of having females hunting quite regularly around them and easy food, they're also getting to the age where they're kind of pushing in to carcasses where they might be pushing females off to get to the good places. I'm going to quickly do a little loop around here, try and see if there aren't any other members that are hanging around. In the meantime, I'm going to send you to Steve on the dam cam.
Welcome back to the dam cam with our buffalo bull, who has finally turned around to show us the other side. So now I'm going to put it out there to all of you, everybody. I was talking about that wound in his shoulder. It looks like it's a very well-placed position that his horn could have gotten to. I don't know if you agree or disagree, but when we look closely at it, it's very hard to go a little bit closer. I'm going to try, but it does really mess with the zoom or the focal length. But can you see how almost if he'd ripped his head from left to right, that it's possible that that horn might have gouged himself in his own shoulder? I don't know, that's just a theory. Without having seen it ourselves, it's very hard to say. He's getting a thorough cleaning. We saw him in Sydney's dam last week doing something quite similar, and I was almost certain at the time that maybe he'd been attacked by lions at the time, but it just seems that this is what he does. Stacey, inside the horn, underneath that external bit is definitely horn, which is attached to the skull, but it's actually made up. The horn itself is chitinous, so it actually grows with the body as the animal grows, where it breaks down and will get eaten and broken down eventually by horned borer moths at the end of the life. So it's actually covering the bone itself. But inside, yes, there is bone. But outside is the actual sort of horn membrane, if you call it. And a very, very strong substance. You can see how discolored it is on top of his head. And that is from him smashing bushes and trees and scratching his head. Different colored trees, tambutis and the like. Jackson, I've seen them swim. I think most animals can swim from birth. Humans need to learn. If you throw any animal in the pool, I'm sure they will all swim. You don't necessarily see these fellows swimming, but they do move around. Sorry, did I say chitin? I meant keratin, everybody. Keratin. And chitin is insects' body parts. So keratin is very much like our fingernails, very much like rhino horn, except it's growing all the time. So you don't really see buffaloes swimming, but you often see them wallowing in the mud like this. We saw one the other day. Oh, what have you seen? Something's got his attention. And now he starts to ruminate again. I mean, there was a story, I think, last year of about 200 or 300 buffalo that apparently ran into a dam and all drowned. I don't know how that happened. I don't know how they all died. They might have got stuck. But it was an interesting story. But most animals will be able to swim if you throw them in the water. He is an impressive fellow though, isn't he? Okay, well, from a very large bovid, I'm going to send you over to Tswalu with a small antelope as well as a large one.
Okay, nice going. He's still there. So there we finally found a group of springbuck. They're not exactly the ones that we were looking for earlier, but yeah, a few more dunes over, we have found a very, very nice big group of them. So that'll be a mix of males and females. There you can see they're also just standing, also very busy tails, lots of insects and flies around that they're just wagging their tails. So with springbuck, sometimes in the early morning, we were talking about the giraffe having lots of energy. With springbuck, sometimes they also just decide to go on a random bounce around, where some of the youngsters in the group just want to advertise fitness and they start doing their pronking. Sometimes, especially after rain, if we've had some good rains, then the youngsters pronk. But all of them can pronk, so both male and female. And then they'll also, there's like a white pouch of hair on the back of their rump that they'll flare open to when they are doing their little pronking. So you see the coloration quite important there, lighter coloured on the underside, and that reflects the heat away from the vital organs. And help them to regulate their temperature. And springbuck, like the gemsbok, will also orientate their bodies relative to the sun, depending on whether they want more of it or less of it, because they're often out in the open areas in the heat of the day. But on extremely hot days, even the springbuck will stand in the shade and cease doing any activity at that time. So everyone is saying that they look like they're in such good condition. They are indeed. Really good food available at the moment. And normally animals start losing condition towards the end of the winter season. So if they've done really well finding lots of food in the summer season and there's lots available, they build up a nice little fat layer, and that generally tends to help get them through winter. And come August and September, that's generally the time where you start seeing animals start losing condition, almost before the next rains, but towards sort of late winter. So August, September, sometimes if you have sudden rains and then sudden cold spells, those animals that just don't have enough on their body can actually be susceptible to pneumonia. So, and also especially in situations for springbuck and impala, they often pregnant as well at that stage, so there's extra something else taking extra energy from them. So we do tend to find around September sometimes you'll have natural mortalities of some of these animals because they'll pick up pneumonia, the first sort of sudden storm, and then a sudden drop in temperature, and they struggle to sort of keep themselves warm in that time frame if they've lost all of that body fat that they had and that they utilized through the winter season. This year I think everything will be fine though. There's no drought, there's no lousy winter conditions forecast, so I'm pretty sure that they'll be okay this year. Let me move forward a little bit because they're going in behind that the one and only clump of camel thorn trees that's in front. So we will just move forward a little bit and see. There was there's also, I'm just having a look, there's quite a few birds flying around in amongst the springbuck. See what they are. I can hear lots of wattled starlings, which is not uncommon for them to be, as the springbuck or any antelope is moving, they're disturbing the insects in the ground, and then the starlings are using that as an opportunity to feed. They are just beautiful antelope. So the question came there, do they have a breeding season? So they do tend to try and carry a lamb through the winter season and then have the lamb in the early summer, so when there's enough food available. So they are, once a year, they do have a season that the impalas... sorry, the springbuck. So we're going to send you across to Lauren, and we're going to carry on making our way towards the meerkats.
We have a breeding male knobbed-billed duck. He was actually doing some yoga. He just missed it. It was rather bizarre. He was doing a little bit of downward dog, and that's about the only pose I know. But absolutely magnificent ducks. The fleshy appendage can be called a knob, but for the sake of, well, just integrity here, we're going to call it a comb. But you can use either words. And it's the fleshy appendage that signifies he's ready to breed. That is a fantastic visual, Darby. Are you loving it?
So good.
It's great. When the male is in his non-breeding stage, it's really, really not that large. You'll have a slight bump above his beak, but you won't have that enlarged, flattened comb. So this male is ready to see the females, and this may be where he's off to right now. And it all boils down to sexual selection. A lot of animals have that. When they were studying natural selection way back in the day, Charles Darwin realized that it doesn't quite fit into the difference between male and females. There's such large differences in genitalia, behavior, traits, physical characteristics. It's not so easy to talk today, and that's where sexual selection came about, that there are differences in male and females, and a lot of the behavior and the traits and the characteristics signal to the opposite sex that they're ready to mate. So we did a little loop around Chitwa, and guess where we bumped into? Swazi. Isn't that incredible? We had him at the den, and he was all the way down in Chitwa, and that just shows you he's following his nose. He went deep into the Mulwanini, which we can't traverse there right now, and I wonder if he is on the scent of a leopard. Could be Tandy or cub, but I just think that's incredible. From the den, he's already on Chitwa. So we're just going to do a quick check back on the den, because I have promised you all we're going to name those cubs, and I'm trying my very, very best against all odds to make that happen. So you never know, it's still quite overcast. There's patches of blue sky, but not much. So ribbons still may be there. So let's just go back to the den and see if it's active, and then bumble onwards from there. It's a hyena track for a moment there. What's happening is because the ground is so soggy and wet, the tracks are solidifying, they're hardening in the ground, staying there forever. And you can see the prints. It doesn't mean you'll be able to know exactly how fresh they are. Did you catch that name, Darby?
Was it Peanut Prince?
Oh, Darby thinks it was Peanut Prince. I will wait for confirmation on that one. Peanut King.
Peanut King? Yeah.
Okay, not Peanut Prince. We're sorry about that. Although Peanut Prince is very cool if you want to change your name. You're asking about quarantine. It's actually steeped in a lot of history. The area was cleared by man, and they did used to keep, this is a very long time ago, cattle there and all sorts of animals, and they were kept in quarantine. And that's, I guess, how the name quarantine came about. So we obviously refer to it regularly because it's a very productive area that happens to be right outside our camp. But animals were kept in quarantine there a very long time ago. I'm not actually sure of the date. I'll need to check for you. So it's a man-made clearing. It's not a natural area. It was cleared a long time ago. And now it's just a really productive area for us. That is why it's called Quarantine Peanut King. Okay, we're almost at the den. We've got a little bit of a roadblock. Okay, bear with me. Okay, so I'm going to get through this roadblock and hopefully there'll be some activity at the den.
It is fantastic seeing you all again. Those who haven't met me, my name is Dylan, in what is undoubtedly a very, very, very green Kalahari from what we were looking at a couple of months ago. We will be doing our very first fireside chat for Wild Earth. So if you can join us on the 13th at about 7:30 after game drive, it would be an absolute pleasure. We'll see you there.
Sign up to become an explorer and join them by the fire straight after the sunset safari.
Riverbeds are a great way to find water and look for places where elephant have excavated hollows. You can then dig into the sand, and after a couple of feet you should find damp sand which then can be squeezed out or siphoned off for water. And with water being one of our scarcest resources, it is a good idea to conserve water where and how you can.
My name is Ross and I'm a field guide at and beyond Pinder Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on Wild Earth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
Looks like it's a very difficult climb because every time it tries to climb, the ground is breaking, so it slides down. But it's the only one. Look at that. That is a call of desperation with a cub. It's like, what are you doing, mommy? Oops. Oof.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
My favorite animal is a leopard, purely because I just think they are just the epitome of feline grace and power, and the way they can move about in any environment and remain hidden until they want to be seen, I just find incredibly intoxicating, and they're amazingly beautiful.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
Welcome back to Tswalu. We cutting in an easterly direction across the dunes. So the meerkats live on the far end of the eastern dunes at the base of the mountain. So we are heading in that direction. And the three groups are actually not that far apart. They're probably within a 2-kilometer radius of each other. So both the Machalas, the horses and the rock stars all live within one thing. You literally drive sort of 1 or 2 blocks, and they all relative to that area. So they have been getting up a lot later in the mornings. At the moment we are experiencing that slight little temperature change in the morning, so the meerkats are a little bit slower. They're getting in towards winter mode, where they come up a little bit later when the sun comes out and stand in the sun to warm themselves up. You can just see the sun shining so nice and beautifully on that sour grass. Oh, there's a gemsbok. Oh, it's got a baby. 2 baby gemsbok. Don't run away, please. I think we might get them. The babies have disappeared in the grass. So they're... There's a view of one of them and the baby is just behind that, but we'll just wait where we are. Maybe they'll move. There were 2 youngsters there that probably also reasonable size horns, so probably about 8 months. Sort of last season's calves. Come on. You can do the reveal. There we go. No, not that way. No. Oh, well, if she's going to cross the road, maybe the cars will follow. Nobody. No, they must have ditched us without us seeing. They've disappeared completely. But there was at least 3 or 4 adults there and 2 youngsters. Just go forward a bit more and see, maybe we can get another view. There we go. There's, oh no. as soon as you stop, they think that there's something's up. We can maybe try these ones on the right. Lorna is asking the question, do we ever see meerkats at night? No, I think if he's very lost and he can't find a burrow, that would be a problem. But no, we don't typically find them at night. Most of the time, by as soon as it's sunset. So each one of these 3 groups of meerkats do different things. Some of them are down before the sun's even touched the horizon. Some of them linger outside the burrow for another 10-15 minutes before going down. But they generally, at night time, sleeping in their burrow. That's the safest for them, and then as soon as the sun comes up, they'll come out. So meerkats not a typical thing to find at night. They are definitely sleeping by that point. So neither of these 2 groups of Gemsbok, they split into 2 groups and neither one wants to cooperate. They keep just running away. That's unfortunately just the nature of the Gemsbok. I can see them. Stay before they panic. And you can see that look, and there's the panic. So male on the right, female on the left. Oh. And you can just see, just literally by the way that the shape of the horns were forming already. So about 8 months old. But not necessarily a fan of the vehicle. So that's it. We're going to carry on heading up and over the dune. Getting slowly closer to the group of meerkats. So everyone's saying very cool. It is nice to see little Gemsbok. So they're actually like a light brown, sort of I want to say a dusty brown, but they're a very light coloured brown when they first born, so that they can camouflage quite well just lying down in the grass. No, I don't think that's we're going to head this way. That's definitely not the best up and over dune to go, so we're going to go this way. So you can see as we head out, there's less grass cover. Mpo is asking the question, how do meerkats choose a burrow site? So initially, if they're going, what happens, the meerkats that we see regularly are established at a burrow system, but you'll have other animals within that decide that they want to go and be breeding animals as well. So you'll have sometimes breakaway males and breakaway females that disappear, and they will go and then find other areas. They might find bolt holes or old burrows that they've used before when they were with the original group, and then they establish from there. So they'll probably have seen those burrows before, but they also try and occupy burrows if they know where there's some ground squirrels, some other animals, and see if those are not being occupied by any other meerkats, and then they take over that burrow system and will breed from there and form almost like a little new meerkat group. So there's a very interesting dynamic with the meerkats. We have had, even between the horses and the mokalas and the rock stars, sometimes individual meerkats have moved around and then they try and get accepted into another group, or they try and go and find maybe a female for their own that wants to breed. So sometimes a beta female, if she constantly gets suppressed by an alpha female, might choose to move off to try and see if she can start a group of her own, and then they'll go and find a burrow system. So generally sort of on the outskirts of where they know the areas that they're familiar with. but we're busy driving now in a dune street. So if you go up and over the dunes, the area in the middle is known as the dune street. So we're driving down that dune street. We're heading in a southerly direction, and as soon as we get an opportunity to head east, we'll head east, and then we'll start heading towards the burrows. There's some more Kempsbrook on the right. I'll just try and see if we can get a better view of them. Hopefully they don't run away. We're going to send you across to Lauren while we continue to make our way to the meerkats.
Good luck with the meerkats, Deirdre. I didn't have any luck at the hyena time. I mean, it is later in the morning. I really didn't entirely expect them to be there, but at least we had a lovely moment with them this morning, and what I'm hoping is... sorry, I'm just making a decision. Change my mind, everyone. And what I'm hoping is this afternoon we can have a really, really lovely sighting, spend a lot of time there, and go through the names. So fingers crossed, everyone. Cross your fingers and your toes and your eyes if you wish. So I think we're just going to bump out some of the areas if we've really not been able to go and just enjoy, see what we can pick up on. I know there was 4 lion cubs found up in Buffelshoek. Our Buffelshoek mast is down, but I'm hoping it will be up this afternoon, but there was no adults. So it's not possible to spend time with the cubs anyway, and I don't know who the cubs are or which pride they belong to, but they have been found, so it leaves a little bit of promise for this afternoon. But just like hyenas, we don't spend time with young animals when there's no adults there. It's not just a human world that has babysitters. Animals need babysitters too. I still can't believe how wet this road is. I mean, the really, really heavy rains were about a week ago, is that right, Davy? And look how waterlogged everything still is. Not had a chance to dry out yet. That sun really needs to burn through and evaporate a lot of the sort of stagnant water and start to dry out the soil a little bit. Matthew, there's really no amount of times. So it's very similar across the board. Most, well, predators at least, will stash their offspring, stash their cubs, stash their pups, their youngsters in a sort of natal area. Now we call it a den. A den isn't necessarily a termite mound. It could be a burrow. It could just be this lovely little enclosure of vegetation. It depends. It depends on the environment that you're in. And depends on the parasite load, the weather conditions. If there's a threat nearby, maybe a hyena's passed nearby and the mother's just not feeling comfortable, she'll move them. So she can move them quite a lot. We witnessed that with the Owino pride in the Masai Mara. The mother lioness moved them on a daily basis for a while. It also depends on the age of the cubs. Once the cubs get to a certain age, they'll be left for longer periods and the mother will come back and get them. So she doesn't need to necessarily move them. And then, of course, once they get even older, they'll start traveling with the pride. So young cubs will not join in on hunts, naturally, but they will start moving a little bit more with the pride, and then pride will leave them and then come back and get them. So I imagine that's what's happened. Oh, hello. How's that, Davy? We have a buffalo. I believe we have many. I can see some bodies moving in the background there. At least we have one of the big 5. We've actually been very lucky lately with buffalo on the property. I'm surprised we haven't had a buffalo killed by lions in quite some time. Normally you can smell buffalo. It smells just like cows, just like cattle. Like you're driving past a farm. standing on top of the termite mound. Huh? As if you're not big enough already. Oh yes, this is definitely a herd. I wonder how large it is. And it's very ideal that they're just off the side of the road. Off-roading right now, Davy and I were just discussing, would be, it actually terrifies me to think about it. We've all had our little accidents off-roading. Wendy is in hospital right now, I'm sure many of you have realised. Rusty's still going strong, but all of the cars have had their little hiccups. Maybe a little bit larger hiccups when off-roading. I know that Steve got stuck recently and I took a door off without even realising it when following Tingana. So, you know, there's definitely moments. Now, going back to earlier when I said Treehouse Dam is a very good dam for clean water, buffalo are extremely water dependent, so you'll never find them too far away from water. They drink daily, and they have to help their digestion. Eating plants is not easy. Cellulose is not easy to break down. They're, of course, equipped. They're ruminants. They've got that specialised stomach pouch, or 4 pouches, to assist with the digestion. But overall, even elephants, they have a different digestive process, but they still need a lot of water to assist with that. And it's said that an adult buffalo can drink up to about 35 litres in a few minutes. So what that means is if for the movements of a herd will change dramatically from summer to winter. From winter, they're going to be very restricted. I think you have something sticking out of your teeth. Oh, yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's gone now. Good job. But during summer, yes, buffalo will drink out of puddles. The vegetation's also wet, so they're getting a lot of moisture from the vegetation, but not enough. They will still need a bigger water body for the entire herd to drink. Whereas if you're a leopard and you're solitary and you're obviously maybe avoiding big water holes, puddles are perfect. Little pans are perfect. But for a large herd of buffalo, they're still going to need to go to the larger water holes. I wonder if I can just go forward a little bit, Davy, and see. I have no idea how big this herd is. I think you'll get some nice views here. There's some buffalo bottom. Now, the reason rumination as a digestive process evolved, it is to break down cellulose. It's to break down that tough material. And it's not 4 stomachs. It's absolutely not 4 stomachs. It's a stomach with 4 specialised pouches. So food will travel down the esophagus, and the pouches are the reticulum, the rumen, the omasum, and the abomasum. That's 4 names of the pouches, and they all have different functions. And then, of course, once the last pouch is the abomasum. Once it's finished, once the food inside or the digested material is finished in that last pouch, then it's going to travel into the small intestine. Just like us, food also travels down our esophagus, and then obviously it travels out of the stomach into the small intestine. So it's the same biological anatomy, it's just the stomach itself is highly specialised with those 4 pouches that I just named. And this is just to break down that plant material. You cannot be a huge buffalo or a huge herbivore without breaking down that plant material and being able to extract everything you need from it. Ruminants don't just really eat grass. What's happening is that ruminants are eating bacteria, which is on the grass, and that's fermenting in the stomach. And it's that fermentation process that the ruminants really require in order to break down their food. They need protein. They're definitely getting protein from their diet, from the grass, and I'll explain in just a moment how they're doing that. Can you get them there, Davy? It's not the best views of buffalo, but of course they're moving off into the thicket there. So it's the bacteria itself, not the grass, it's the bacteria that's actually breaking down the cellulose that's in the grass. Humans can't break down cellulose. And what's happening is the bacteria is breaking it down and then converting it into a plethora of amino acids. And there you go. Amino acids are your building blocks for protein, and that's exactly why they're so big and strong. People think, oh, a buffalo or a herbivore is not getting any protein into their diet. That's wrong. They are. Of course they are. Look at the size of them. But it's just happening in a slightly different way. There's one traveling here again, Dolly. So once you've got amino acids, that's your building blocks, and your body, the actual body of the herbivore, can synthesize protein from the building blocks of all the different amino acids that has been broken down by the bacteria, which they're eating from the grass. I hope that made sense. Sarah, good question. I'm sure they would absolutely love to, but I don't think they would. I really don't think they would. A calf, yes, if they could spot a calf, a smaller buffalo that's maybe away from the herd, yes, they would. But a large buffalo within the herd would be very difficult. Possibly, I mean, hyenas are remarkable hunters. If they came across an adult that was maybe really injured, broken leg or limping and just struggling, then they could. All they need to do is bite it a few times with their really powerful jaws and work cooperatively, and that animal would be on the ground. Once it's on the ground, it's game over. But yes, I guess they would try. It would depend on the circumstances. But a large herd, I don't think they would attempt that. But people forget that hyenas are really remarkable hunters. When you see them hunting cooperatively, it's astounding. We just don't see it too much here, and it's most likely due to the environment. I mean, I can't even find the buffalo now. That's how thick it is out here. I'm not sure we're going to get any more views of these buff. We probably drive past leopards on the daily, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I mean, it's so thick. Unless there's tracks which tell you, you know, the animal's gone off, there's absolutely no way you would be able to spot what you're looking, well, spot the spots. But yes, Sarah, good question. If an opportunity presented itself, they absolutely would. Okay, I'm going to scratch around this area, see what else we can find, but for now, we are going to send you across to Steve.
Welcome back. We have not lost our buffalo, although he has moved slightly from one part to the other. Just goes to show you the depth of the water. It's not that deep, unless he's floating on something. He's a marvellous fellow. So what does everybody think? Do you all agree with me about that wound? You can see how he turns his head. Very likely could have been from his own doing. It looks painful, I'm not going to lie. It looks very painful. Doesn't seem to be affecting him too greatly though. Megan, that's exactly what I'm saying. It looks exactly like the angle. You can even see that the bruising is on the right side of that wound, the direction that the the horn would have gone in, would have come from obviously the horn side, would have penetrated into the skin. You can see the discoloration, and the injury itself is sort of inside towards the lower part of his body. If that makes any sense. He's alive though, to tell the tale. If only we could speak buffalo. That would be wonderful, wouldn't it? Jerome, it probably does get wrinkly under the fur there. You just can't see it. I mean, when you get wrinkly if you're in the bath for too long, can you see it on the top of your head? It's not easy to see. I have no doubt if the wrinkling happens. Yeah, that's a very good question. It's probably going to soften him up nicely. An old fella like this is really tough and leathery. And he's probably been chased many times, everybody. He just knows he can't get a moment's rest unless he goes and puts himself out of harm's way in, not the edge, but in the middle of the dam. Since he's been here this morning, I haven't seen a hippo. Nancy, you reckon he could have rolled and that wound could have been from a stick? It's possible, I suppose. I mean, without seeing it, we wouldn't know. Turn your head. Look at that. Oh, look at that. Perfect. Thank you for doing that. Okay, I think that shows exactly the distance from his horn to his shoulder. A solid muscle. Oh, he's like, it's a bit deeper than I thought it was over here. I don't think he'll sink, everybody. He's going to come out somewhere. He's gone, everybody, he's drowned. There we go, that is the end of our buffalo today. I'm only joking, I'm sure he's fine. He's just decided to put himself out of the public eye for a moment. Here he comes. Sure, he made it. I had no doubt, everybody, I had no doubt he was going to make it. That was tense, Jared, sure. Were you holding your breath too? No, they are good swimmers, everybody. Most animals are very good swimmers. I mean, even lions and all sorts of cats or monkeys, baboons, you throw them in the water or they have to cross water, they can do it. They can do. Obviously, when we look at aquatic animals, they're very, very well designed for swimming, but animals like buffalo occur in the Okavango Delta. There's enormous amounts of water there that they move through. Yeah, so he'd stopped chewing, and I had a feeling it was going to be time to come out and start feeding again. His rumination had ceased. It was time to come out and start feeding on the nice, luscious green vegetation that surrounds the watering hole. And he uses his tongue and the top of his mouth. The palate, it's got no teeth in the front of mouth. Got teeth in the lower incisors, but the top incisors, there's nothing there. It's just a hard palate. So he uses the tongue to to sort of rip at the grass, and then he rips it with his neck. And so buffalo like to feed on long grass. They can't feed on short grass. They like long green vegetation, and they do very well in the very rainy seasons. And they help to open up and facilitate the grazing for other animals. Something similar to what zebra do. Zebra also chop the grass down, but they've got incisors on both the top and bottom, so they're actually able to chop it down. Whereas the buffalo, I just love that, don't you? That look of the buffalo with the grass sticking out the side of his mouth. Now, when you look in a grass book, everybody, if you've ever happened to get hold of a Southern African grass book, Grasses of Southern Africa, a really nice book, they show you the digestibility of grasses, but with a picture of a cow, or it might be a buffalo, with a grass stalk sticking out of its mouth. And depending on how the cow's mouth or bull's mouth or face looks, it indicates the happiness of the cow, which indicates whether it's a tasty grass or not. And it really is a wonderful image of a cow with the grass sticking out the mouth, with a smile, and the grass going up, or a little bit of a frown and the grass going down, to show sweet versus sour felt. There's definitely a lot of sweet grasses around here. They do like long green vegetation. That one touching his body there is in fact the finger grass. Tato, yes, it's possible they would eat aquatic plants. Quite a few sedges. Oh, I've got to catch up with him now. He's moving so quickly. I'm going as fast as I can at the moment without losing too much of the controls. I'm going to have to zoom out slightly. Apologies, everybody. This is live. And here he comes. Look at the size of him. Isn't he a monster? He's a big buffalo bull. He's a big buffalo bull in the region of 800 or so, 900 kilograms. 1,700 pounds. It's going to have a little bit of a movement there. As you all know, whenever you take your dog for a walk, what's the first thing that happens after a little bit of a walk? Indeed, and that is the lodge just behind at the back there. So we have wildlife that come very close to the camps. Bit of a movement, bit of dung deposits, and he will continue on. Okay, well, our little or large buffalo is on the move, and it sounds like Lauren is also.
Now we're heading to one of the pans that we don't get to show you too often on Simbambili, called One-Eyed Pan. I do not know why it's called One-Eyed Pan. In fact, I really don't know. But we're going to head there and show you exactly how full it is. Where we're hoping to head there is a little bit further away than I anticipated. But it's full to the brim. So this is us now crossed our western boundary, and we're now on a different property. We're now on Simbambili. It's very lush, very thick here. Okay, here we are. We made it to One-Eyed Pan. I'm just going to sit here and let you listen to all the sounds and watch all of the buzzing around this little water hole.
It's no secret that nature can heal. Some of our Wild Earth viewers are finding solace in the outdoors close to their homes during lockdown.
This is how I keep myself busy during lockdown. Beautiful little jumping spot.
I love walking in the open spaces near my home. Provides a moment of peace in a crazy world.
This is my fire escape with some of the birds I get to see. That's what it's like in New York City during lockdown.
Being in nature helps me to cope with the challenges of life and helps me to be humble and grateful.
It's magical watching everything turn into a winter wonderland as the snow softly falls.
Been doing lots of walking, dog walking, outside at parks.
This is my Ridgeback Drake. Our little slice of paradise is a provincial park called Hopewell Ross.
Connecting with nature is critical to stay positive during these tough times. Wild Earth encourages you all to find time to escape to nature.
So in 1998, we had this idea to go and put a live web camera on a waterhole somewhere in the Sabi Sands next to the Kruger National Park. And I approached just about every single landowner and everybody thought I was completely crazy until I met Yuri and Pippa Moorman.
We thought it was definitely a fun idea and a worthwhile thing to experiment.
And it immediately became a runaway success. And it gave people all around the world the opportunity to watch a little piece of Africa day and night. Back in 1998, it was the very early stages of the internet. And all we were able to do was to get a 30-second refreshing JPEG out of that camera. But over time, what we began to do is focus more and more on trying to develop this concept of giving people the opportunity to go on safari.
Even though we live just 500 meters up this hill, we still put the camera on to see what's happening.
Absolutely, we watch it ourselves.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on Wild Earth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the Live Safari page and submit your questions below the live.
Now, I haven't driven Simbambili in quite some time. It's another joy for this morning. I know that Kara's been around and Zutini's been around. The Nkuhumas were on Makulu Open not so long ago. Another really productive area out here. So we're just going to head there, have a quick scratch around and see if we can find anything. It's just been a real joy for me to traverse all around and see what else we can find. Open areas, especially in summer, are really, really productive. The grass is actually too long for not only the prey, but also the predators. The predators can use it to their advantage, of course, but the prey are not comfortable. So staying in an open area, at least you can see all around, they can hear, they can smell. So just like quarantine, Makulu Open is much bigger, it's much, much bigger, but it's very productive and very beautiful. So that's where we're heading. Nikki, I'm not entirely sure what you mean. If you mean like this morning, when the hyenas just vacated the den, it's not to find food, no, unless there was food ready and waiting for them. They're primarily nocturnal. So what that means, they'll do a lot of their activity at nighttime. They'll patrol at nighttime, they'll walk for kilometers and kilometers to find food. Low scents, they'll just be very active at nighttime, like lions and leopards, and therefore spend their cooler hours at the den, the mothers too. But then once it gets a little warmer, there's no shade. There's literally no den. So what they normally do is just wander off, seek shade, and sleep all day, most of the time. Depends on the weather conditions. And then as the sun starts to set again, they become more active. They'll come back to the den, they will go about
activities. Okay, so we're going to head to the open area and find.
Good luck, Lauren. We've managed to track down, should I say, they arrived all on their own, this little family group of kudu. It's really nice to see. I love finding. They just materialize out of nowhere. When they're in the bushes, you always find one. And then when you just stop for a moment, have a little look around, you'll always see a second one. And then a third and then a fourth. But obviously their design is to be very camouflaged. Very, very camouflaged. But when they come out into the open like this, they stand out quite strongly. That's why many of these animals are quite reluctant to come and drink. Quite sort of skittish around the water. But you see, they've chosen the exact same place to come and drink that the buffalo was hanging out at. They feel that's the safest spot. Oh, hang on. That was a little interesting move from that young lady. What I love about their lips, everybody, talk about it quite often, is the fact that it looks like they've been drinking a milkshake. Vanilla milkshake. Now that on the lips and those stripes on the body, all designed to break up their three-dimensional characteristics. That fur along the back of the neck, all the way down the body. Really, really, might not notice it now when they're in the open, but when they go into thick bush, the stripes on the face, spots on the face, enable them to just vanish. And we're going to see it now as one after the other they disappear behind this bush. So, you know, they're quite reluctant to drink, and if anything spooks them, and it's quite windy, you can see by the vegetation, they'll move off and go and hang out in the vegetation again until they feel quite comfortable to come and drink. So that's what they've done again. Bearing in mind they're also afraid of crocodiles. But movements in the long grass, lions could be around, there could be a leopard around, we don't know. These fellows are very good at discerning those things. But interesting, we often talk about the kudu of being a very brown coat or grey coat. They're looking very, very orangey now. That might just be the camera now, I'm not actually sure, but they don't often look this sort of, maybe it's all the rain we've had. They're so clean, and there is the kudu feeding height. You see their browsing ability. That's how high they can feed. Bernie, no, they don't have a specific time, like the nyala and the zebra. Kudu are not seasonal, although there will be a peak for those three species in the summer months, but they can breed any time of year. They don't have a mass lambing like you find with the impala, where they all breed together. A male will find a harem of females or a group of females like this and mate with them when they're ready, and they can breed at any time, but you will often find them breeding at a similar sort of time and favouring more summertime, summer months. But they can breed at any time. Waterbuck are more specifically in the summer when they hide their youngsters. Impala, we know, November time. Wildebeest, December time. Buffalo invariably peak in the summer months because of the vegetation. But kudu and nyala, they don't have a specific season. But just like elephants, who are also seasonal, they do have a peak. Oh no, I've lost the damn cam. Looks like I've lost my feed. Hopefully it will come back in a moment. If you can all still see it, I can't. If anything transpires. Okay. Does that mean I am still live, Jared?
Drive.
Still going west, approach from Rolani, Dulun Lena.
I'm trying to just figure out a sighting here for now. We're on Simbam and they've definitely got something very, very close to where we are, but I need to be on that radio, I'm afraid. Let's just get to Makulu Open. Excuse me, everyone.
What is on their mic?
We've just bombarded us.
Hello everybody, sorry about the gremlins this morning. Because it's not only the wind that's frightening the kudu, it's the gremlins too. And the wind is coming from behind them. So they can smell what's coming from that way. I often find them staring off into the direction where the wind is blowing due to the fact that that is where the danger will generally come from. And they still have not drunk. So it's a stressful period for these animals, and see now I'll go and feed again, little bit by little bit. Look at the size of those ears. And just like that, they will disappear once again behind the bush. They're one of the most gorgeous antelope, that's for sure. Well, the dam cam is very unobtrusive, everybody. They don't see the dam cam. They are quite jumpy. I've had some wonderful sightings with kudu though before. But you've got to just give them lots of space. They don't like to be seen. That is their whole strategy, to be unobserved. So if you watch kudu from the side of your eye, they'll just stand there and stare at you. But unfortunately, when we turn our camera to them, they generally run because the objective or the point of focus, just like that of a lion, is suddenly on them and they feel the eyes boring into them. That causes them to move. So without movement, you would not see them behind that bush there. Without movement, they are there. They just break up, because you see when you look through the bush, you see there's light patches and dark patches. That's what a kudu looks like. It's got light patches and dark patches which mimic that of which the light is going through the bushes. So when they stand in dense vegetation, they're invisible. Now, bearing in mind we can see color, which gives us depth perception. Predators cannot see color, so they're looking for shapes. This type of camouflage, called disruptive camouflage, breaks up the patterning. Breaks up the patterning. There we go. Look how quickly they're moving. And notice how they're moving into the wind. For predatory purposes, as well as the potential of the plants to communicate with each other from a pheromonal point of view, an attack point of view, and see how they move like we would in the army. There's always a point man. One kudu's going to come running from the left soon. It was left behind. Probably found a nice tasty bush. There were 5, weren't there? I'm sure there were 5. I don't know what species this vegetation is. This type of lily, type of I don't know the species, but there definitely was some of it here last year. It actually increased from a very small amount because of the water. Remember, the year before there was no water at all. So this would have grown. I don't know what species it is. If anybody knows, please feel free to send it through. Definitely was there last year, but it wasn't there the year before because there was nothing. There was no water. So these aquatic plants, very quick to emerge and re-emerge. Have to get a flower. It's a perfect kind of vegetation for our aquatic birds, the moorhens, the jacanas, crakes. Oh, and also you can't believe it's the same dam cam because you thought the controller was so amazing this morning. I understand, everybody. I'm only joking. The water is high, but this is what happens when it's full. I don't think it got full last year, but only once, and then it overflowed. I can only get full to a point, and then it overflows. So it definitely was this full last year, everybody. It just looks different because there's a little bit more vegetation around the edges. Our blacksmith lapwing is quite happy with the emergence. And see if we can see his self-portrait on his back. When he turns around, you'll see that there's a self-portrait of a blacksmith lapwing on his back. Come on, turn around. There we go. Self-portrait. Facing to the left. He's got a tattoo of himself on his back. A silhouette. That's quite funny. So 50, I mean, this might be an invasive water plant. I don't know the species, but the Kruger Park itself in general has got big problems with invasive plants, especially in the perennial rivers, the rivers that run throughout the year, because they come in from outside. So you can do whatever you want to inside, and those plants will perpetuate. And generally with invasive plants, you don't have anything that eats it. They don't have any predators, they don't have any insects that do anything to it, so there's no stunting of the growth. So by all means, this could be an invasive species. I don't know. I don't actually know it. I have to get a sample, but it has grown. But it did emerge last year. You can see little streams of it here. Floating vegetation just in the bottom of screen. So it can float from upstream down, and then it just takes a small little piece of it to take hold, and it will perpetuate, as you can see. As you can see now, I'm sure there's many dam cameras out there that are going to be able to do some comparative screenshots of last year's water versus this one. But it definitely did start last year. We did see it last year. You can see there in the middle there's another piece sort of hanging there, and the wind blows it across. We'll blow it across the water, move it around. Hippos transfer it as well, everybody, in the Mara. I had quite a few moments where I showed where hippos had actually physically picked up some of the pond sort of plants, the lilies and the aquatic vegetation on their backs, and had walked. Ooh, we've got our fellow again. And had walked out into other watering points, and that would be another distribution mechanism. Oh, our hippos are there, bottom left. I thought they were gone. They've been hiding. So both Thaboti Dam and Rubbing Post Dam, which is upstream from this, have both got that aquatic plant, so we'll have to go and get ourselves a sample and find out exactly what it is. But it sounds like we've got Ambion and Gala back. Let's go say hello to Dan.
Welcome back, everybody. So once again, we've still been fighting with signal this morning, and I apologize for that. Sounds like you've been seeing some interesting things around the watering hole. We kind of left those lions. It looks like there's a herd of impala up ahead of us. Left those lions kind of lying in the long grass. There actually was a Ross male with them as well, lying at the back. Great to see them back, or at least one of them back. I wonder where his brother is. I wonder where they've been is maybe a more interesting question. I wonder if they've come from the west, hanging around that side, or if they've come from the east in the Kruger Park, where the rest of the pride has kind of been seen in the past week or so. Seeing a few self-drive Kruger vehicles, spotting them around Orpen Camp. There's a small little group of female impalas on our right-hand side over here. Just taking it easy. There's quite a large herd of them up ahead as well. Let's just stick with these females for now, all huddled right together. They're just watching us quite closely, in fact. They all look like they're similar ages. No lambs either. I don't see a lamb here. Maybe the lambs are around, maybe lying down in the long grass. Look how they even have to jump to get over maybe some hidden logs or sticks. Look how nervous they are. So the wind is picking up, and there might be some weather that's coming through. There's a European roller at the top of this little bush here. You'll see, particularly impalas and these herbivores, they can often get incredibly nervous when the wind starts to pick up, particularly if it's like all over the show, if it's coming from all kinds of different directions and squalling, as it's called. The reason they get so nervous is because this wind can dull their sense of hearing and their sense of smell as well, as nowhere near as accurate because it's coming from all sorts of different directions. So they're relying almost solely on their sense of sight. And over here, now that the impalas have moved off, there's a beautiful European roller just sitting on the top of a tree, looking around for some insects that might be flying around. Looking quite comfortable and content, in fact. Is it almost preparing for some rain? Beautiful colors, huh? Just watching around. There are a few more. Let's see if we can't get to the rest of that herd of impala up ahead there. But yeah, I mean, while driving around trying to see what else we could find, particularly trying to work out where that Ross male came from, that's what I was super interested in. I was wondering if he was coming from the west or the east. There were tracks of some female lions coming from the west. I'm sure those are the ones that have kind of joined up with the rest of the pride. And we heard some baboons alarm calling. I wonder if it was at a leopard or a lion. So I was just looking at some tracks there, just impala tracks. And very likely a lion or a leopard or a predator of sorts. It was just in an inaccessible area, unfortunately. So a beautiful, really large herd of impalas. In fact, let me go a little bit further because there's even more on our left-hand side here. Now that's one traffic jam, occupying and dominating the road. The little ones in the front here taking control. One oxpecker. It's even on the ground there. That impala kind of walked up to it and said, "Get back on my back. Help me out." So those oxpeckers are looking for ticks on the backs of these impalas. You'll see them, that one that's hopping in the ear there. I mean, ticks. If you've ever walked in the bush, and particularly this time of the year, there are lots of them, and they'll crawl all over you, and they'll look for these dark, warm, moist patches. That'll be under your armpits and your groin, even behind your ears. Those are the kind of places that ticks will look for in humans, and they'll be very similar in animals as well. You'll see them with the ticks kind of going underneath the tail, in their ears, maybe in and around their noses sometimes, maybe a bit moist there. But that's what that oxpecker is doing. You'll see it kind of crawl up into the dark areas, maybe in its ear, and the impala doesn't mind that at all at this time. I mean, they're actually helping each other out. The impala is providing a food source to the oxpecker, and the oxpecker is providing a service of cleaning and preening this impala and getting rid of pests like the ticks. And it's not always the case, though, that they're having this mutually beneficial relationship. It's often I mean, the oxpeckers are vampiric and in fact feeding off the blood in these animals, and they can often keep wounds open and can get infected sometimes as well. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to slowly push through these impalas as if I'm an elephant just making my way through here, and they'll make space for me. And let's see what else we can find while we've got some good signal.
It is fantastic seeing you all again. Those who haven't met me, my name is Dylan, in what is undoubtedly a very, very, very green Kalahari from what we were looking at a couple of months ago. We will be doing our very first fireside chat for Wild Earth. So if you can join us on the 13th at about 7:30 after game drive, it would be an absolute pleasure. We'll see you there.
Sign up to become an explorer and join them by the fire straight after the sunset safari.
The reason why we see that wildebeest by himself is because he's a male, or a bull, as we typically would call him. And what he does is that he marks and defends an area. Essentially, he is looking for the ultimate piece of land or prime property. Needs to have good grazing, needs to have a water source close by. And not too far away from here, there's a sickle bush thicket that would provide just enough shelter from the wind and the rain.
My name is Lauren, and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me, and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
Okay, there's another big male coming in from our left here. Another big male, look at this. This is the one. Now you're going to see sparks fly, guys. Guys, it doesn't get better than this, eh? Yes, unbelievable. Africa, I love you, eh?
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
My name is Moritz, and I come to you live every day from Tswalu Kalahari here in South Africa. My favorite thing is probably the predators. And as you can see, we're looking at some of them right now. These are the kings of the Kalahari. Spending time with the cats, it's just a privilege. And I love their behavior. You know, the more that you look at them, just the power and the sheer beauty and elegance of them.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
So we it's just nice to see the little meerkat. Just nice to catch up with the little meerkats this morning. They are already busy foraging. He's got a good bug there. He's eating an armoured ground cricket. Oh, there he goes. Probably going to have to move the vehicle forward a little bit. Following him long distance from the visual. Copy that.
Hello everybody, you're back with me on the very, very peaceful morning at the Dam Cam where, well, we've actually had a fair amount of activity. And I've just been sent a video that I haven't yet gotten to, but it's very possible that the video recorded off of this Dam Cam is of an otter. So we've had questions lately, are there otters around Djuma? And I've been sent via one of the Zoomies to the lodge manager, Michelle. He's asked me to have a look, so I'm going to have a look and see if there is an otter hanging around. How exciting would that be? Many of you have asked, are there otters around? And I haven't seen one here before, but there's always the possibility. Well, everybody, we do thank you very much for your time and for your patience this morning. We hope to see you again this afternoon, same time, same place. Have the most wonderful day further. We'll be seeing you again in the afternoon sunset safari. Until then, have a blessed day, good day, and goodbye.